Welcome to Machine Tending, Target-Rich Environment. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us and hope you were able to take something away from today's presentation. I'd like to welcome John Toohey, Senior Sales Manager with FANUC America. Go ahead, take it away, John.
Thank you very much, Hope, and thank you very much for the team at Productivity to afford us this opportunity. So I'd like to operate under the assumption that today, that if you're listening to this talk, that you're looking at buying machine tools or looking at automating machine tools. So today we're gonna start out with a little joke because I kind of like to joke around. I like to think about what do these two things have in common. Obviously the one on the left is something I was very familiar with in college, and obviously today on the one on the left, on the right there is a robot. But I like to use the analogy that they're both used to tap into unrealized potential. And if you're here on this webinar today, you're looking at optimizing your machine tools and optimizing your automation. Robots and machine tools together create an amazing synergy. So the things that we're going to talk about today is why are we going to automate your machine and what synergies are we looking for? We're going to address some key numbers that you may have heard before, but if you're looking to make that decision on finally automating or finally buying that machine tool, these are good reminders and good numbers to make sure that you're prepared for what the future has to offer us. And then we're going to look at what COVID has done a little bit and some early on comments by Mark Cuban. And then we're going to address some myths. If you're looking at automating your machine tool, you've got a workforce to address and be concerned with, and they may have some antiquated theories and thoughts about what robots really are. We're going to discuss a few challenges of the machine shops just at a very high level, as well as some of those solutions, and also introduce the CRX as a cobot to the rescue in the machine tending space. And then the last slide will just be how we can connect you with the productivity team and the FANUC team to make sure we offer you the solutions that make your shop more productive. So to jump right into it, we're looking at a shortage of 3.5 million jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. That's a very scary number to me because those numbers are very difficult to ascertain. 2 million today, right now, is what is required to fill the skills gap. And I had the privilege of speaking with some recent graduates at Oakland University, and I asked the question, how many of you would like to go work with robots when you graduate? And every hand went up. But then I asked the question, how many of you would like to be working in a factory? And unfortunately, there were not very many hands in the air. And I felt to myself that it's very unfortunate that the student of today does not have a grasp of what today's factories are. They've been growing up under the assumption that the assembly line under Henry Ford is what factories are, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. So there is a paradigm shift that is required. And I think that what today's environment is going to afford us is the opportunity to expose robots and machine tools to the masses. Another key number as to why automation is going to be expected is the number of Americans that are retiring on a daily basis. I actually think COVID is going to accelerate some of this. For those of us in the workforce and in the machine tool space that are in the last 2 to 3 years of our career, fortunately I'm not there yet, but for those of you that are lucky enough to be there, you may say that this environment is not what you want to do and you may retire early. But regardless of what COVID is doing, an average of 10,000 Americans are retiring daily, and that's just out of our industry, I believe. Let me double check that number. But 10,000, I should probably, 10,000 Americans retiring out of North America. Let me say that, I'm confident there. Sorry about that. Another key number is why automation is a target-rich environment is there are greater than 23 shops categorized as job shops. And all of those shops are going to have a very difficult time finding employees, as was evidenced by the 3.5 million job shortages in the next 10 years. So finding people to be employed at these job shops to run machine tools, automation is going to be the key to allow these machine operators and these small to medium size shop owners make themselves efficient by using robots. Another key number is in the United States, we estimate that there are over 900,000 CNC machines installed. FANUC has a very good privilege, a very high privilege of being one of the most common machine platforms on the market today. So having the robot and the machine tool talk is obviously a huge goal of everybody, to make that connection easy, to optimize your machine tool and to optimize your robot. The 34%, that's an interesting number. Right there is the average spindle utilization number that we got from the AMT and the NTMA numbers, that 34% of the machine of spindle utilization is where we find ourselves. And the irony is if you ask most plant managers, they would probably give you a number somewhere in the 70s to 80s, you know, if they were feeling optimistic. But that in reality, based on 3,000 hours and having 8,000 hours available, 34% is the average spindle utilization. Another scary number, 92%. That's 92% of the machines in North America do not have a robot in front of them. So if we're averaging 34% machine utilization on relatively 92% of the machines in the United States, that would lead me to believe that there is a ton of capacity that we can do right now with the existing workforce. And robots will be the key to making sure we bring these two numbers closer together. So a little change also. Why are there other reasons that you would want to automate your machine tool? It's great to know that people are going to be very at a premium and at a shortage, but also applications that are different and heavy to hard parts where an operator can't handle them, especially without an overhead crane. FANUC makes robots for anywhere from 2,300 kilograms all the way down to half a kilogram. But if you have an application that's heavy, dirty, and dangerous, FANUC has the machine that will be able to help you optimize your machine tool. I should have said the robot. Another reason to automate is consistency. If you're running multiple shifts, it becomes evident, and actually it happens quite frequently, where the communication from op to op or even line to line is difficult, but when you start going shift to shift, people start to lose sight. Robots offer a consistency because they don't care if it's first shift, second shift, or third shift. We kind of already addressed this a little bit, but people are expensive. They're very expensive. Robots will offer you a consistent cost measure along the entire life of your project or your run. Cost associated with changing would be where you had to change maybe EOATs because the parts may change, but the robot path and the robot itself will give you years and years of life. And again, I keep going back to the skilled labor. A lot of kids are coming out of college thinking that the world's going to be their oyster, and it's actually changing. I think you're going to see that apprenticeship programs and internships are becoming more and more prevalent, so people learn real job skills instead of, no offense to anyone who has a liberal arts degree, myself included, although a very good degree, I think sometimes can be a little bit impractical for that first person coming out of college. Learning a skill such as programming a robot or becoming an engineer is something I think that this country needs to turn more towards. That's my opinion. Another reason you want to automate is dirty, dangerous, and strenuous operations. Of course, people have been doing these jobs on the assembly lines for a number of years, but in order to make things safe, robots are another key opportunity to make your process safe. Whether we do it with a bunch of robots in a cage, or we actually discuss, and what we'll discuss later, are collaborative robots and some collaborative applications. But robots can help keep the worker safe. Another reason you may want to automate your machine tool is because you focus on a cost per part. If you have customers that run and you charge them by, I need 50 parts of this and 50 parts of that, robots are a great opportunity to do that when you focus on cost per part, because they're consistent, repeatable, and reliable. For those of you in the protein market, if you are, I know this is probably more of a machine tool discussion, but I found this to be interesting because in today's environment, we are finding on the assembly lines and even in the shops that we have to social distance. This picture here is obviously in a protein plant where today we're working with this company to where you will see probably 75% of these people being repurposed and robots doing some of this sorting and deboning applications. The opportunity to run lights out with automation is definitely a goal that I hope a lot of people have. But initially, if you're a first-time user of automation, we want to get you optimizing your spindles, making sure they're turning and making and cutting parts. So in the desire for running lights out, I did have a good example of a video. And this is out of our factory, one of our factories in Japan. Whoops, I apologize. I got to click it on this screen. So this is actually in our servo motor plant, assembling servo motors in Japan. We currently deploy just under 4,000 robots in the manufacturing of all of our products, from robots themselves, servo motors, and any other component goes into, including PCB boards. Obviously, we take automation seriously, and if you look, and for those of you who are familiar with FANUC, you can see that some of the robots in these videos are many, many generations old, meaning in excess of 15 years, and still run reliable. And if you have been paying attention to some of the news, you may have heard a news article recently that FANUC Japan announced that we're going to increase production by a factor of 3. That is an amazing feat that we would not be able to do if we did not have robots as the core of our manufacturing processes in Japan. So another thing we wanted to discuss was COVID and what COVID has done to disrupt supply chains. And everybody here has their own opinion. I'm sure we're so far into this now, and some of this is obvious. COVID-19 affected our supply chains. What are we going to do about it? Mark Cuban said that robots are going to be the key into the America 2.0, and nearshoring and onshoring are going to be what those key effects are. Bringing jobs back from China, bringing back from the Asia Pacific, and bringing them back to U.S., China, or excuse me, U.S., Mexico, and Canada. So onshoring and reshoring are going to be a huge part of it. And then, of course, you've got our own labor cost. So we do still want to keep American jobs in America. So Carrier's, obviously, this is the company they're referring to now. Carrier actually has, I know, a very large automation project that they're doing today to keep American jobs and improve their products, where automation is a very large part of that. So we've talked a little bit about the numbers and how important people are, and why the people shortages are going to be driving automation, and how robots can increase spindle utilization. But people had a fear, and even someday it exists, that robots take jobs. And I would like to bust that myth. Here is actually a graph that we were provided to by the RIA that shows that as industrial shipments, robot shipments increased in the United States, unemployment has gone down. So if you look at the diagram on the right with the robot on top, FANUC, I've used this as an example. We go to market in 2 ways. We go to market with our partners and our ASIs like productivity, and we also have direct relationships with the large manufacturing-based companies across the planet, which are also serviced by our ASIs. And in each one of these companies, we have robot programmers, service people, technicians, people that are specific to a technology like welding or vision, and then also the plant manager and operation and shift managers that are responsible for all those robots. So in each environment, an argument can be made that for every robot installed, 5 jobs are created. But the real driver is cost. The cost of labor is going up because people are at a premium, where robots are a manufactured component. And as I stated earlier, we're going to increase production by a factor of 3. And the CRX can be one of these drivers in the machine tool network. It is a very easy to use, easy to program, collaborative robot that a first-time user can be having a machine tended in less than an hour. So we've provided an easy solution. We've provided many solutions along the years to address these challenges, and the challenges haven't changed. Production, capacity, cost, part variation, which is one now that the robot industry has been able to address. You know, the high mix, high volume, or low mix, high volume types of applications. The tooling has become so flexible that we can run hundreds and hundreds of parts with the same tooling just by changing fingers. So other parts of other challenges you have is, you know, floor space, throughput, lack of a common platform, even from line to line, shift to shift, and then trying to manage that with an ERP system or an old Excel sheet, or back in the day, just a card file. So in the job shop, we do face a number of challenges. We want to improve productivity, increase capacity while reducing costs, while focusing on some of the challenges like low volume, high mix. But the whole goal is to keep the machine running. So you look at a few points to consider. So you look at the consistency from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. An operator can vary where a robot doesn't. It's ready to go. It can unload and load the cycle when it's complete. And it can also clear the work holding. Everybody knows what this is. This is the every machine tool guy's favorite tool to help seat everything. Well, robots can do that for you now. I apologize, one slide too quick. So robots can do that all in one case and be consistent along the whole way. So one of the solutions that FANUC has to mate a robot to a FANUC controlled machine is called QSSR. So this will go to the FANUC robot controller to the FANUC controlled machine with a simple program and platform, and QSSR stands for quick and simple startup of robotization. The whole idea is to get the robot and the machine tool speaking over FLNet in a very short time frame, so you can optimize the existing FANUC equipment you have in your plant today. So some of the features and benefits of it: it provides a fast connection from the robot to the CNC. It allows you to do things like jog the robot from the HMI and the machine tool. It creates the PMC blocks automatically, so there isn't code that has to be rewritten. So there are many advantages to QSSR, and it's a very detailed program. We can get into it at a later date. If you're interested, please set down a note and I will connect you with the experts who can get you in minutes connecting your robot to your machine tool, your FANUC controlled machine. So if you're not going to go with the FANUC controlled machine to another FANUC control, and you have other machines that have different types of control platforms, there are starting to become a lot of DIY pre-engineered work cells out in the environment, out in the industry today. There are a number of companies that do it. A number of our very, very good partners do it. Our competitors do it. So you're going to see in the space, there's a lot of collaborative robots, but you'll also see yellow robots in these types of applications. And the idea behind them is they're quick, flexible, and easy to deploy, meaning the tooling is easy, the fixturing is easy, and the interface from the machine tool to the robot is easy. So these are just a few examples of some of the partners that FANUC has across the country and the globe that do some of these applications and some of these machine tools, or some of these automation cells that are easy to use, flexible, all with the goal to help you increase production while being accessible and safe. Other companies that are modular and redeployable, where they can tie multiple machine tools in doing the same concept. This is Red Rabbit's another company down in southern Michigan, where they use a different type of system where they invert the robot, but still it's quick, easy, and portable with the interface directly to the robot, to the machine tool. So I wanted to just proceed, and how do we get to the next steps? I would contact your productivity salesperson directly. They are the industry experts. They know the most about their machines, their machinery, and the systems that they deal with FANUC. But of course, you can always contact any FANUC authorized system integrator, myself, or your local FANUC salesperson. And we are available to do automations at any time. In today's environment, we've done many of them by FaceTime, which has proved to be very successful. We can obviously do a webcast, and we can also do other things like just phone calls, or looking forward to the personal face-to-face visit. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting another frog here at the end. So with the productivity team and the FANUC team, we're here to help you address your concerns in increasing productivity, decreasing scrap and waste, and at the end of the day, improving your bottom line. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank Productivity for the opportunity to discuss this with all you today, and open up the floor to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, John. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in your Q&A window. And I know that there's a slight delay, so we'll give you just a second here. I know we did have one question previously, and that was a gentleman wanted to know, is it possible to retrofit robots on an older machine?
Depending on what the control platform is, if there's an Ethernet port, we can do that. In terms of retrofit, I mean, if you're talking from going from like an RJ2 to a R30IB, that might be a little bit more difficult, probably more efficient just to buy a newer robot, if that's what he means by retrofit. But as long as your machine control has an Ethernet port, there's a high probability we'll be able to get the robot and the machine tool to talk.
Okay. Another question we had sent in was, I know you mentioned in the presentation on FANUC machines. Would it be available to use on other than FANUC machines?
Of course, yes. There's a relationship Productivity is involved with, where Haas is now providing a FANUC robot as an option, and they've developed an interface where the entire robot control is controlled by the Haas dongle, if you will. It's actually a very interesting concept. So yes, we can partner with any robot, any machine tool manufacturer. Not a problem.
Brady is asking, what about tasks done while operator is waiting for the machine cycle, like deburring?
Certainly. In fact, that's one of the huge opportunities of using a robot. When the machine tool is actually cutting, the robot can be used to do secondary operations such as inspection, deburring, or even part cleaning. Yeah, and a lot of that can be done by partnering with companies that will help you with the EOAT, like an ATI or Shunk or On Robot, or one of those types of companies that can offer flexible end effectors that can do more than one task. Definitely. That's the whole idea of getting behind the robot, is letting the robot be as flexible as possible and accomplish as many tasks as possible.
Okay, thank you. We also have with us Jordan Peterson. He's in our automation group here at Productivity. Jordan, we have a question for you, actually. Does Productivity have standard robot cells?
We do. We have currently a lineup of what we call 6 different pre-engineered systems. We also get into the custom side of things, but we do have these pre-engineered cells. There was a few pictures of them here and there within John's presentation here. But even the pre-engineered cells, we customize to an extent to meet a customer's needs as far as work queue, part geometry, cycle time, so on and so forth. So yes, but it can be customized a bit too to fit the customer specific needs.
I can actually share. I have a picture of it up right now if you'd like to show it.
Okay.
I can.
And then I also kind of wanted to just make a little bit of a comment related to the question regarding the older machines and stuff. So with Productivity, we certainly can do older machines. We do older machines all the time. We don't require an Ethernet connection through us. Typically, we'll just use a really simple style connection, whether it be M codes, maybe tie into the stop string a little bit just to keep the equipment safe. But we've retrofitted our systems onto, the 15-plus-year-old machines and still currently do.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You can get HSSB cards and other types of ways to get into an older control platform. I can only speak from the FANUC perspective, but like a control platform such as like a 15MT we could add a card to that I could connect the robot through an Ethernet. So yes, there are ways to do it. And the team at Productivity will be much more versed. They have access to different control platforms where I only know a little bit about the FANUC one.
We have one more question here. Okay. Andy is asking, if we are looking at just starting down the path of robotics, would you suggest with the cobot routine, what are the pros and cons of this direction we're going with?
The first thing would be taking a look at the application. If you're looking at a very simple pick and place, a cobot is a great place to start, especially for a first-time user. The downside of a cobot is, by design, it's inherently slower than an industrial robot. So although it will introduce you to automation, it will only give you a certain throughput. If the task is required that a cobot is there and a person is working side by side, it's a great place to start. Other than the throughput of what a collaborative robot can do versus an industrial robot, there really are no downsides to the collaborative side, other than just throughput.
Okay, thank you. Brady is asking, can the customer train or program the robot, or is that done by Productivity or FANUC, etc.? What does training or movement creation look like?
So FANUC, we actually do have a training department, and in many instances when we develop cells and when we partner with you guys, we train them. Productivity has teams of people that can also do training. I imagine the machine will be set up, but I would always recommend that someone understands how to program the robot. So again, FANUC does offer all of these training classes. We do it regionally, and out of our Chicago office would be the closest one, closest to you guys. But we have it out of our main corporate headquarters in Rochester Hills. And then due to today's environment, we also have virtual training. So FANUC tries to make sure, or will make sure, that your customers have the tools necessary to be able to deploy, understand, and maintain our product and equipment.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, so typically what we do, like when we sell one of our pre-engineered cells, so we will always start, and this is the way we feel is the most ideal for somebody, especially if they're just getting into it. We will always start by programming the robot to handle at least one part routine. Get the cell making money for you guys before you start diving into it a little bit, and we will include operator and simple error recovery training along with that. From there, oftentimes I recommend to purchase a couple of additional part training programs, and what we do is we will actually set those up with your guys at your facility, starting off by them shadowing our tech, and then our tech will be shadowing them and getting them really used to it. And kind of how that all ties in hand in hand is, that initial part that we bring on, 95% of the programming and logic and the brains behind the program itself will be done. And so bringing a new part online is as simple as a copy paste, and you're changing maybe a couple of points, pick and place points. So it's very easy after all the work has been done.
Thank you. Okay. Well, it looks like there are no further questions. So with that, I would like to say again, thank you to our presenter, John Toohey, and also for all of you for joining us today. And thank you, Jordan, as well. So until next time, we just ask that you stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for your business. See you soon. Have a great day.